Welcome back to the Techcelerate TV studio here at London Tech Week, where we're going to be talking funding for a moment here. Joining me on the sofa is Tom Easterby, who is Head of VC Coverage for Barclays. Tom, thank you very much for your time.
No, happy to have him.
So we're talking a lot about startups today and about funding for startups, whether it comes from banks or whether it comes from investors. What's your take on the current climate for investing and funding startups in the UK at the moment?
Yeah, the climate's really good in the UK, I feel. I think it's still really very, very buoyant. There's an ample level of capital around for the right sort of businesses. If you are an innovative, disruptive, new business in the UK right now, I think there's lots of options for you. Lots of equity capital around, lots of options around that. And then there's also significant support from fund lenders and banks such as Barclays.
And you say the right sort of businesses. What are we talking about there?
Clearly, you need to have a business that's doing something a little bit different, being able to, kind of disrupt a market to be able to create value that there wasn't value before. There's lots of businesses that do start up that can't find that way, can't find the niche that's going to create the value that's not there currently, and that's essentially what you're looking for. And if you've got something like that, you will find funding. You just need to pound the streets and get out there.
And what about for companies that maybe are on the next stage beyond startup? They started there 2 or 3 years established, and they're looking for the next round of funding. How does it look for them?
That's where the market becomes a little bit more difficult. I think there's a whole heap of early stage funding around, and actually as the business tends to grow and you kind of find businesses scaling quite quickly, right up into that much more kind of mature growth stage, that's when you really have got a little bit more of a difficulty trying to attract that capital. I was
saying, why is that? Because surely if a company's further down the line, then there is less risk.
Yeah, certainly there is less risk, but there's also an element of less return. You've not got that same level of yield upside from being really early in on the business. And also in that earlier stage bucket of funding, there's a lot of government support, there's lots of other initiatives that are directing capital into that area. That means that actually your wrapper on the returns basis is a lot better.
And in terms of the key sectors, we're celebrating London Tech Week here, but of course it's a very international flavour, certainly a very UK flavour here. What are you seeing in terms of the types of organisations, the types of businesses that are succeeding in London and also in the broader UK?
Yeah. Well, London, you have to admit it, home of fintech, really. And Barclays is so close to that. So, of course, I'm going to kind of cite that as one area that we see as being massive growth potential, as well as already having had a huge amount of growth trajectory so far. I also feel that out in the regions, you've got little pockets of kind of sector focus here and there. Cambridge with the life sciences angle and some of the interesting IoT and manufacturing technologies that are coming out of the north of England. Interestingly, I was in Belfast last week and I met a whole heap of really interesting medtech and biomedical sciences businesses, which was a real surprise to me to have that niche. But broadly speaking, I feel across the UK, if your business is of good quality and you're doing something, like I said, is really innovative, I think it's generally very sector agnostic.
So Tom, what's your approach, Barclays' approach, when trying to help support fund an early stage startup? What's the kind of advice and what are the things that you're looking for them to bring to you in order for you to give something to them?
Well, at Barclays, we've tried to put a lot of products and services together to really help startups right from that idea all the way through to the IPO or the exit and even beyond then. That's a whole range of things, from being able to provide holistic funding in the form of venture debt and later on kind of private equity support or advice from our investment banking arm around exits and liquidity. But also kind of to be a bit more practical with that, be able to support through good quality operational banking at a really early stage, being able to help with kind of onboarding and also just to help with being part of a really connected ecosystem. It's really helpful to the bank, to clients to be able to offer a good quality product, i.e. banking, but also to be really helpful to them to be able to piece things together. So we like to think that we're able to kind of connect in the way that the way that's really useful and value add to our clients.
And the way in which companies approach you and kind of give you the the sense of trust, the sense of this is a company that we feel happy doing business with. It's going to be the same sort of things in a way that you spoke about earlier on, the right kind of business, something that is fulfilling a business need, something that does look as though it's going to be scalable and so on.
Yep, showing innovation is fantastic, showing growth is brilliant. Banking, sounds cheesy, is a people business. So being able to develop a relationship with someone, be able to provide a bit of value add, be able to provide an understanding and support for a business is exactly what we need. So what you're bringing to a bank, just come, have a conversation, have a chat, tell us what you need and have a bit of a dialogue around that.
Coming back to the climate, forecasting is notoriously difficult, but one thing we do know that is on the horizon is a big warm or cold front called Brexit. Who knows, whichever side of the table you sit on with that. It's definitely happening. Is there anything that you're seeing in terms of changes in organisations already in some of the decisions they're making, reassessing what they're doing, or maybe being a little bit more reserved in what they're doing with Brexit on the horizon?
Clearly it's a key issue for everyone to have to think about, whether it's a positive or negative, as you say, kind of depends on which side of the fence you really are. What we're seeing from a lot of our clients is one of the key areas there is acquisition of talent. It's about bringing people into the UK to come and work in your business and help it grow. We had that interesting news this week from the Home Office around the entrepreneur visa scheme, which is fantastic, but it's not filling that void in terms of getting programmers, developers, even something as simple as getting kind of good quality, ambitious sales force on the ground here in the UK. That's one thing that companies are missing. Are they taking different decisions because of Brexit, whether they're choosing to relocate elsewhere? There are examples here and there of companies doing exactly that. But at the same time, I'm sure once things kind of settle down, there might be new opportunities for us to be able to kind of acquire that draw back to the UK.
And finally, obviously, like I say, London Tech Week, celebrating London. London's one part of a larger UK. What is it that you'd like to see here, and what Barclays is able to do to try and, I guess, share the wealth, but also to bring the benefits, the fruits from other parts of the country for the good of the whole country, not just for London? Yeah.
Well, Barclays is a national network, and we're really trying to find interesting and innovative ways to be able to push a lot of that expertise and knowledge and connections that we have here in London out right across the country. We have a network of innovation hubs called our Barclays Eagle Labs in 14 different areas across the country. That number's growing quite considerably. And we are able to utilise them to really become a helpful ecosystem hub within pockets of the UK, places like Cardiff and Belfast and Brighton and Edinburgh, and be able to offer a connection and an ecosystem hub where you haven't got them. So being able to take what we do here in London and push that out into other areas will hopefully help to see a benefit right across the UK.
Tom Easterby from Barclays, thank you very much for your time today. I hope you have a great rest of week here at London Tech Week and Tech Accelerate.
Thank you.
Thank you.